Estimate Master for Mac is it's a database tool specifically designed for creating estimates. It's quite universal in that you can customize it and tailor it to your business. And I'm going to go through. It's a tabbed interface, and there are 6 tabs at the bottom of the screen. There's a Customer tab, Estimate tab, Parts and Materials, Labor Tasks and Rates, and Preferences, which is a combination of things, and then there's a tab for your company information. So the Customer tab has a contact address, name, phone number, email, etc. And there's an alternate address, set of address information for each customer, so you can switch between the primary and the alternate if you like. The Estimate tab contains the estimate items. It's organized by customer, so if you click on a customer on the lower left, on the right is the estimate description, and then on the top for that particular estimate there are the individual items for that estimate. So if I click this customer A, in this particular case I have 2 estimates for that customer. There's no limit to how many estimates you can have per customer. So I click on the estimate on the lower right, and then I see the items corresponding to that estimate above. And the columns at the top of the screen are customizable. You click the Define Fields button and you see all these are customizable by name, and you can choose to leave some of them in and some of them out, however you like. You can print an estimate. You can include a logo, and you can include an image of your company logo, and you can have templates, so you can have multiple templates, different logos, different text, different formatting for each template. And that also includes paper sizing and orientation, landscape, portrait, font sizes, and all this. So you can have, and that also includes terms. So if you put standard terms text in your estimates, you can have different sets of terms for different types of customers, and just call them in by changing the template. Once you create the template, it takes just a few seconds to create a template. You've got a lot of power with those templates for printing. And when you have a estimate for printing, you can print it directly or you can email it directly to the customer. Let's look at the Parts and Materials tab. On the upper right there are unit types, and there's a default set of unit types, which maybe is all you need, but you can also customize them by selecting combinations on the 3 grids on the left. If I wanted feet, pounds, or foot pounds, I select feet, select pounds, and I select add, and then or touch add, and I got foot pounds. So there's all kinds of combinations you can create that may be applicable to your business just by clicking. Again, it just takes seconds to set that up, set up your units list. Once you've got a unit types list in the upper right corner, you can add materials and parts that you use in your business. So to add a material item, you just select the type on the upper right. If it's a simple per unit type, you select each or whatever you want to call it. Click the plus button on the lower left. Now you've got a line item that you're adding. Give it a code, which is just an arbitrary short descriptive piece of text describing that references that particular item. Give it a longer description if you like. You probably want to do that. And a price per unit, like so. And when you're done, you just click done. So it doesn't take long. You have to give it some thought, but there's nobody who knows your business better than you. So there are some estimate programs that come with standardized parts and materials, but in reality, you're probably going to modify those anyway because it's not perfectly tailored to your business. You may as well just put them in directly. Once they're in there, remembered forever, and you can update them whenever you like. So it's very convenient. You have to spend some initial time setting up your materials and labor tasks, but once you've done that, estimates are created very quickly and also very accurately and consistently. There's the labor tab, which first of all has labor rates, different labor rates. You can have one labor rate, or if you have different types of labor that you pay your employees, you put all those in the upper right. And the big grid on the left is called the labor task items. These are just tasks that you do when you're working. If you're a plumber, if you installing a toilet, for example, you might have a task, say, install a toilet. Part of that would be the cost of the toilet and also possibly the labor to install it. So you can create an assembly for installing a toilet of the labor and the cost of the materials, and you could have different assemblies for different toilets, of course. And the assemblies are on the lower right of the labor and the lower right of the materials. The same list of assemblies, but you use them the same way. So if you look at the labor screen, for example, and you click Edit, and I click the arrow to the right of each assembly, you see this is a 2-item assembly. It could be just labor, or it could be just parts, or it could be labor and parts. And once you've created assemblies, that's very powerful, because when you add an assembly to an estimate, the quantities and any lengths that are in the assembly are included as well in the estimate. So it's a great time saver. It really increases the power of this estimate program. And another tab is the Preferences tab, which is a kind of a conglomeration of different things. The two things that stand out is a list of upper left, a list of taxes. You may work in more than one locale, more than one county, for example, with different tax rates. So put all your tax rates that apply to where you work, and you choose for a particular estimate. You just choose the tax for that particular job by clicking on it and just typing Add to the right of it. And you can have, if you want to, you can have different taxes for labor and materials, and you can choose to include the markup that you might be including in the taxes or not. And if I don't think we have any examples in the States, but in the States or in Canada, there are some provinces that are the taxes piggybacked on their general national sales tax called the GST, I think. Anyway, it supports pretty complicated tax structures like they have in Canada, or simple tax structures. And directly below that are markups. You need at least one markup, but you could have multiple markups. You may have some customers that you have one markup rate, and other customers that you have different markup rates. So you choose the markup rate that's applicable to the particular estimates you're creating, and you add. And again, you can have different markups for materials and labor. And in fact, when you're creating estimates, it will not let you print or email an estimate until the markups and taxes are assigned. If you choose to have a tax exempt, you just put a 0 tax rate in there and add that. Or if you choose to have a 0 markup, you want to have a 0 markup rate and add that in this column, the middle column. But you can't leave out the markup and taxes. On the right-hand column, there's a whole variety of things. There's an organization ID. You'll be assigned a number when you first install the program from the App Store. It's just an arbitrary number, but it's unique. Guaranteed to be unique for your company. So if you have more than one of you making estimates and you want to keep, for example, a single database that you all work from, you can sync your estimates or your database between different people working in your company. So everybody would have, each person that makes estimates would have their own copy of Estimate Master, and this works with the iPad. It's 100% compatible with the iPad. If you're using iPad or Mac, it doesn't matter. Each person would use the same organization ID that keeps the database unique for your company, but allows multiple people to share the database. So when you make an estimate, for example, you would click the sync button, sync DB button, and then that is a database in the cloud, so to speak. In other words, it's on a server, and that is the common database for everybody. And this allows you to make estimates. For example, if you're using a laptop somewhere out in the field and you don't have internet access, you don't need internet access to run the program. It will run just fine. You can create estimates anywhere. You don't need internet access. But when you want to sync the databases so your estimate goes into the database along with everybody else's, when you get to the point where you've got internet access, you just click the sync DB button, and now your database is synced. And that is an optional feature. It's a subscription that you buy once a year, and currently it's priced at $90 or $89 per year, and each year you need to renew that. It won't keep billing your credit card. But if you want to have a common database and you got multiple people using the program, that's something to think about. There's another way to sync as well. It doesn't really cost any extra money, and there's a backup to email. That will back up your database and put it into an email and send it to your company email address, and then somebody else can, or you can send it to somebody else, and if he saves that email database and restores it, it syncs it as well. And that's also a nice way to protect your database, so it's saved separately. Allows you to manage your archive, your database. So when you get the program from the App Store, there's nothing in it. It's an empty database. I have a button at the bottom right here that says Import Sample Database. That just gives you, we're doing a sync here with a sample database. That just gives you an idea. It allows you to use the program without entering any data before you start entering your own data. So you can go through it. There's customers, there's estimates and materials and labor. It gives you an idea of how the program works without actually going to the trouble of entering data to start with. That's worthwhile looking at. But once you feel pretty comfortable with the program, I suggest you click the empty button on the upper right there, and then go and start entering your labor rates. Enter your labor rates, then your labor's ask, and then go to the materials tab, enter your unit types, enter your material list, your parts list, etc. And then you might want to go to preferences, enter some of the tax rates you use, at least one markup item, and then you can start creating estimates. If you're creating an estimate for a customer you haven't worked with before, you click the plus button on the upper right, put his name in, put a name in and contact information, and then go to estimates, click on that customer name, and directly to the right you touch or click the plus button. Now you have a blank estimate for that customer. There's an estimate, there's nothing in it at this point, so you just click. Before I do that, I'm going to import this database again, so we have something. Bringing in the sample database again. Okay, I'm going to click. I'm going to select a customer. I did that. I've got some parts and materials. Just to add a parts and material item, you click the add button, add arrow. It's in the estimate. If I want to click a labor item, I click the add arrow in the labor screen or labor tab. Now I just put 2 items. I've added a couple items. There were already a couple items, but let's add it. Let's make a new estimate. Okay. Nothing in the, again, it's a blank estimate. Let's add one labor or material item, one labor item. Go back to the estimate tab. There they are. Now at this point, I don't have quantities, so I need to click the edit button, put in a quantity. And if it's a length related item, they need to put a length in. And the labor item, there wouldn't be any length for the labor, but you might want to put in, you need to put a quantity in for the labor. And you notice the total is in there. Now I don't have any taxes. Let's pick a locale. Let's add a tax. Let's pick a markup rate. Add a markup rate. Now I've got taxes and markup. You notice the pricing is updated to reflect the markup that I chose. Now you can print it and give it to a customer, and or email it to him, and the pricing will reflect your markup. So there's different ways to do markup. You can assign a general markup for materials, another markup for labor, which can be the same or different. And then when you put your pricing in, put in your cost, not the customer cost, and then the markup will be added in the estimate. Or you can choose to put in the markup in the estimate. Now if some items you want to mark up, but you don't want to add a general markup, you can change that. Say markup no. Then when the general markup is added, if you do add a general markup, it doesn't add anything to the price that you put in. So you can do markup individually or across the board, and you can do it separately by materials and labor. That's kind of a snapshot. In my company tab, you need to put in your company's name, and that's just for the reports, so your company's name is on the reports, and the contact information, your address, so forth, phone number, etc. Pretty straightforward. It does take some upfront cost to tailor it to your business, but once you do it, it's worth the effort, because now you've got a tool that can create estimates consistently, accurately. And you can update the estimates selectively as you update material costs, etc.